Cabernet Sauvignon is considered by many to be one of the greatest of the red grape varieties. It's capable of producing these incredibly structured, complex and age-worthy wines. Now, Australia doesn't have quite the same long history with Cabernet Sauvignon as it does with Shiraz, maybe not even the same sort of geographic spread, but there are several areas growing Cabernet. Two we're going to look at are Margaret River and right here in Coonawarra. Now, what makes Coonawarra so famous? There are several aspects. The climate in general, the location, but one of the most important things are the famous Terra Rossa soil. Let's go have a look. One of the really important aspects to shaping the style and the characteristics of Coonawarra Cabernet are the famous Terra Rossa soils. These are 650,000-year-old soils. Better than having me explain it to you, though, I'm here with Wynn's Coonawarra winemaker Sue Hodder. Sue, let's talk dirt, shall we?
Certainly, Mark. Any discussion about Coonawarra always centres around the highly prized Terra Rossa soil. And you can see here that it is in distinct layers. And in this case, we have the red clay loam, which is quite shallow, and it's over the limestone. And you can also see how the limestone is very soft because this vine root has managed to burrow down through the fissures to look for the water.
So the water's how far down?
Water table varies, but it can be as shallow or as close to the surface as between 4 and 6 metres, depending on the season and other factors.
So these guys know it's there and they're just trying to get down.
Yes,
down
they
at
are.
it.
And you can see that the soil depth is very shallow, but the vines don't seem to suffer. They're very healthy looking vines up here. And that's because the Terra Rossa soil has just the right combination of fertility and drainage for the production of highly concentrated Cabernet Sauvignon grapes.
Now, it's not just the soil that gives Coonawarra its specific flavour. What about the climate in Coonawarra? I mean, how does that affect it?
It's a combination of the various growing characteristics for grapevines in Coonawarra, and the soil forms the basis of that, but the mild climate, which is influenced by the cool southerly ocean, certainly plays an important role in the formation of the flavours that are so distinctive in Coonawarra.
Probably the most filmed trench in the wine business, would you think?
Oh yes, well it is. It's highly prized, as I said, and very special, and it really is the essence of Coonawarra.
Great, let's get in and taste something. Blending's a really important part of winemaking, but for some reason the term makes people uncomfortable. They think of it as something inferior. Now, when it comes to Cabernet Sauvignon, a historic blending partner has been Merlot, but here in Coonawarra, they actually very rarely use that in the final blend of their wines. However, that doesn't mean they don't blend. And here at Wynn's, they actually set up a blending tasting for consumers, which is kind of what you're going to do for me here today, Sue. So explain how you would structure this.
Yes, so we have 3 different Cabernet Sauvignon wines, each of which have different tastes or characteristics that contribute to the overall blend. So we can vary the proportions depending on what we want the final wine to taste like.
So this is something, obviously, you're blending probably from more than 3, I'm gathering, when
yes.
you're in the real lab, not for the consumers.
Certainly, so. Mark, we can have up to 80 different component wines from different vineyards, different oak types, different winemaking variables that go into the final blend.
The possible permutations are probably a bit confusing at times, I'm guessing, for you, but...
Yes, it is, but that's what we do, and we're lucky to have the luxury of so many different parcels from wonderful old vineyards, so it gives us great scope.
So let's try something. I'm keen to make my own sort of Coonawarra, the Dr. Davidson Coonawarra blend.
Yes, all right. So the first wine is a wine from the central Terra Rossa, and we describe this wine as having great fruit lift, nice cherry character. It's full on the palate, good structure and good potential for ageing.
Okay.
But,
so sort of like the backbone of the wine?
Correct.
Okay,
and
great.
we can layer it up with different wines. So
beautiful. Well, I'm going to take, if I'm going to do the backbone, I'm actually not going to tell you what my blend is because I don't want you to learn anything special.
No, and if yours is better than mine, I've got some serious soul searching to do.
Where's your blend? Let me have a taste.
Rightio.
That's yours?
Yes.
I'll take a little bit on.
Okay, yes.
You can have a look at mine.
Actually, I do have a few improvements that
Do
are
you?
needed. Yes, I'll acknowledge that up front.
I think your experience is showing.
Your blend is very aromatic and lifted.
And lifted,
yes,
which is what I was
yes,
hoping to
that's
achieve.
right. Sure. Right, and bearing in mind that there's a little bit more finessing that can be done before it goes to bottle. No, I think you have potential.
Now, if you were to sort of say there's a couple of key characteristics that typifies, not specifically your wine here at Wynns, but the Coonawarra flavour, what is that, do you think? What are the key?
I think
mint is one of them.
Yes,
Yeah.
and a cherry or cassis character,
Right.
which is a hallmark of good Cabernet Sauvignon. And then, of course, it's about the structure and texture of the wine. They're usually medium-bodied wines that have a real presence, and you can tell that they'll age gracefully. Now, that's not to say these wines can't be consumed young. They can be, and mostly they are, and that's great. But there are many Coonawarra Cabernets that will age very well for up to 50 years.
Well, it's funny sort of being it's sort of a sterile place to be tasting wine in a lab, but let's face it, the lab is a really important piece of any winery puzzle in the sense that this is where your quality control is done. And, I mean, you have to make sure everything that is going out to the customer properly. But
We do, and we wouldn't be doing justice to our vineyards if we mucked it up at this stage, if you like. It's quality control. We need to do the various tests to make sure that the flavours can truly express themselves and that we're capturing the essence of the vineyards in the bottle.
Well, fantastic! What a great day this has been in Coonawarra. It's kind of given me a real sense of the place and just exactly how you craft the wines. Thank you very much. Cheers. Here's to Coonawarra Cabernet.
Thank you, Mark.